Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay, so we are on the last verse of chapter 2 now, which was a mega chapter. There are two mega chapters in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 and chapter 18. One is a summary and one is, both are kind of summary, but one is in the way somebody explained anticipation, and one is, in retrospect, the 18th chapter. Okay, so, all right. Now I started, sorry, all right. So we were I was just going to summarize 71. It said this man attains peace who, abandoning all desire, moves without longing, without the sense of I-ness and my-ness. If you guys remember, we discussed I-ness was, ahankar. My-ness is, mamta. Ye sab cheezein meri hai, or ahankar. So nir-ahankar and mamatva. Those were the two things. So the person who is like a sthita prajna, which we should have that goal, does not have those two things. And because he doesn't have those two things, that's why his wisdom is steady. Okay?
This is Kumar.
Okay. So, keeping that in mind, let's go to the next one, the last one. What happens then? So here is a verse, 72. Esha brahmi sthiti partha nainam prapya vimuhyati sthitva sthyamantakalepi brahma nirvana mruchati. I'll just do it once. Everybody can just see, because it's on Zoom, it's a little bit difficult to do it twice and all that. Okay, so here the Sanskrit is Esha is this, Brahmi is Brahman, Sthiti is state, Partha is O Parth, Na is not, Enam is this, Prapya, having obtained, Vimuhyati is deluded, Sthitva, being established, Asyam, in this, Antakale, in the end of life, Api is even, Brahma Nirvanam, oneness with Brahman, Mruchati is attains. So here the most important word is Brahmi Sthiti. One of the most important. Everything is important. So let's see what Brahmi Sthiti means over here. So there is a word Brahman. Everybody is aware of the word Brahman, right? So the word Brahman is that you can call it God, you can call it consciousness, but the word is coming from a root word bruha, like bruha. Bruha means big, the big. So the big means infinite. Because here, when in the worldly sense, when we say big, it's always relative, right? This is bigger than that or something like that. This is the biggest. That's the Brahma. So we can call it Brahman, we can call it Brahma. Both are okay. And Brahmi Sthiti means the one who gets established in that Brahman. And then we have discussed that in the past, that once somebody gets established, it almost means, not almost, it means he becomes Brahman. So it's like once you have that experience, you become that. And then we had that example of a salt doll is trying to find its origin and goes to the ocean and becomes the ocean. So just keep that in mind. So, the Brahman is also the substratum of everything, right? Substratum, the very core, the essence, all of those things fit in it. So then what is the process is like this. The space is the best example. That if somebody says, oh, what is the smallest space? So they said maybe the smallest space is वो सुई में जो होता है ना एक छोटा सा होल, सबसे छोटा वाला होल, उसको ले लो. उसमें जो space है ना, that space is thinks that, oh my God, I'm so small. But then the moment it realizes that I am the space, all of a sudden it realizes, oh, this is the space everywhere. Then it becomes infinite. You see how what I'm saying? Is a shift in understanding. So the other very good example is the pot and the space. Pot space means एक समझो एक mud pot है, उसमें space है. Mud pot को समझो हमारा शरीर समझ लो. मैं समझ रही हूँ कि मैं शरीर हूँ. फिर हमने यहाँ पर पढ़ा कि भाई नहीं तुम शरीर नहीं हो, तुम आत्मा हो. तो वो मेरे को रियलाइजेशन हुआ, oh okay, I'm not the शरीर, I am the Atma. So it's something like the pot saying, hey, I'm not the pot, I am that space in the pot. So now it recognizes the space, and then it knows that the space is one. So then it realizes, oh, the space is everywhere. So the space is outside the pot and inside the pot, both. So outside is Atma, inside is Atma, right? So that's the second type of realization it gets. And then it says, oh, wait a minute. This is the space where the entire galaxies are in it. So all the stars and everything is in this. So I am that space within which everything is there. And then if I am that space, that means everything is within me. You see that journey? So I think with the example we can understand, that is a Brahmi sthiti. So when he says that this person gets established in the Brahmic state, is that a Brahmi sthiti? That, okay, I am that Atma. That Atma is the same as the consciousness everywhere in everybody, and everything is in the consciousness. So those are the 3-4 different points. And then once he gets established in it, he does not get deluded again. Because one of the problem is, okay, now I got this knowledge, and will it keep going in and out, that knowledge? But no, what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, once you completely establish in it, in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you are not going to get deluded again, no matter what. And it's something like this, that when we are driving on a road and we see a mirage, and first we thought, oh, that's water. But then we soon realize, no, I have studied about mirage, and that's not water. That's just a mirage. Then next time if I see a water, will I think it's a mirage? No, I won't think that it's a mirage. Sorry, ulta bol rahi hu main. I will think, is it a water? No, it is not a water, it's a mirage. I could see Meenaji's face and I realized I was saying ulta. So, so I will definitely know it's a mirage. I will not get deluded that it's a water. And then the other example that we have hashed it out so many times is the snake and the rope. That if I know that it is a rope and it's not a snake. So, okay, if everybody could keep their thing on mute, that'll be great. Then we will not have this problem of, okay. When you want to talk, you can unmute. So, the snake and the rope, in the beginning, I thought it's a snake and I'm getting all scared and all that. And then somebody comes and says, explains to me and gives me, puts a flashlight on, and now I know it's a rope. Okay. Then I go home and I sleep again. And for some reason, I wake up again and I get up and I again see a snake. But now that I know it's a rope, immediately it'll come back to me. Right? So that's what they're talking about, that once you get established, even if you function in the world, even if you see everything, it will still be, the reality will not get away from you. You will know what is the establishment of Brahmi Sthiti. So I hope this concept is clear, because this is the most important concept in this particular verse. And then one more thing he's going to say in this verse is that, remember we discussed many times about human birth, and there are different opinions in the class, but basically everybody agrees on one thing, that every human birth we are capable of getting this Brahmi Sthiti, right? So Krishna Bhagavan says, okay, suppose if you have wasted all your life and all, but towards the end of your life also, suppose if I gotta mute this. Suppose if this gets totally established in you, you still got it made. Before you die, if this happened, in this janma you got it, and then forever you got it. So I think, in other words, he's saying it's never too late. But one of the Swamis really joked about it. He said that just because Krishna Bhagavan is saying, don't think that you have to wait till the end to get this, because end mein you know that हम लोग सभी उसी तरफ जा रहे हैं. All your faculties start getting down. He's saying दिखाई देता नहीं और भगवान के दर्शन करना चाहते हैं, सुनता नहीं है और प्रवचन में जाना चाहते हैं, खा नहीं सकते और प्रसाद खाना चाहते हैं, चल नहीं सकते और वो तीर्थ यात्रा पे जाना चाहते हैं. So the earlier you start, better off you are. So in olden days, you know that they used to do it in the Gurukul system and all. They did it both. You know, they taught you about Brahma Vidya and they taught you about the worldly Vidya. And then Krishna Bhagavan has a best formula, that he's saying that you don't need to go anywhere, you don't need to do anything. Whatever your duty is in this world, you just change your attitude. And if you change your attitude and do it the way that he prescribed it, now that's the most important thing. We don't need to put our 2 cents worth in that. The way he prescribed the Karma Yoga, if we actually follow it, he said we can reach this Brahmi Sthiti. So he made it the easiest for us. You don't need to change your profession. You don't need to go there anywhere. You don't need to drop anything. You just, drop the attachment from your mind and you follow this path, and that will take you there. So that's the.
And not only that.
I'm sorry?
Not only that, as you grow older, your control over the mind gets less. You can't control the mind anymore. So if you are not in the habit of praying and doing things before, it becomes very hard as you grow more and more older.
Yes. So all those factors we kind of know. But he also tells you it's never too late, because some people do wake up later and it's okay. So he's giving, I think in Bhagavad Gita, what I find is throughout the chapter, he gives so much hope that you have no excuse. Old age is not an excuse, your profession is not an excuse, your position is not an excuse, nothing is an excuse over there. So if we are saying that, hey, because of this I'm not getting it, then the problem is us. It's not, so that's another way of looking at it, flip side of looking at it. And that's why in this one he said, hey, even if you, at the end of life you get it, you still will get the whole Brahmi Sthiti. I think that's amazing that he told us that.
I have a comment on that. I feel that, similar to what Kamala said, that if we don't start younger, to train ourselves to be non-attached and without I-ness and minus, it takes practice. It takes, right, as we're all finding that we're trying so hard and we still can't make it. We still find ourselves. So that's another thing, that if we don't practice a non-attachment, then at the last minute, when we're on our deathbed, we won't be thinking of Krishna. We'll be thinking of all the things that we're attached to, Hi, mere beti ka kya hoga jab main mar jaunga? Hi, mere doggy ka kya hoga when mar jaunga? And what is happening about my money and my finances and all that.
Yes, and I think what you're saying, that comes in chapter 8 in detail, that he's going to say that whatever you have practiced your whole life, that's what, when your chips are down, or when you are dying, your true nature comes up. Whatever your practice will come up. So that's true. But the reason I was bringing this old age thing, that he's telling you that up to that point also you have a chance. Because sometimes what happens is people do some sadhana, then they drop it, then they pick it up again. For some reason, if you have done, and then we don't know what we have done in our previous lives also, right? So if towards the end also you start thinking of Bhagwan and all that, and then for some reason you get established right before you die, quit this body, you will get it. So in this verse, that's what the connotation is. But whatever Kamlaji and they are saying, that is an obvious thing, right? The earlier you practice, the better you're going to get at it. So if you have thought of God the whole life, you will remember God at the time of dying. But if you have been, 99% of your time, you have only thought about business and family and this and that, that's what is going to come to your mind. That's like a scientific fact, So just keep those things in mind.
I think the positivity that Uma is telling all of us, and it's because we are all in the later stage of life now, is that even if we have just started,
Yes.
we can still accomplish it. And that I think is very encouraging for most of us.
Yes.
Instead of being told, oh, you haven't started early, now you are doomed.
Very good point.
That is very encouraging for all of us, I think.
Yes. I think that I appreciate that thought, because we want to be encouraged. And Krishna Bhagwan is a master of encouraging. So we should.
I have a request. I'm unable to see Sheila and Kamla and Meera. Is there something I'm not doing on my
Kamla ji I can see. Who else?
I cannot see Kamla, Meera and
Meera ji
Sheila.
also I can see.
So how do I add these people onto my?
I'm not sure. Just do the gallery view. There is a
gallery view में आप लोग सब आ रहे हैं, वो 3 नहीं आ रहे हैं.
What device are you using?
My iPad.
Huh?
फिर हमें बाद में मीरा कहेंगे हम तैयार होके आए थे and you didn't see me.
What device are you seeing from?
I'm on my iPad.
Okay, iPad, maybe the screen is smaller. So I request that anybody who has a computer, please use a computer, because screen is big, you can see everybody all the time. And I don't think it's that important to see everybody.
No, but I just
Neelu, I have a suggestion. Neelu, can you slide your screen? Slide it from, then you will see more people. Because there are only that number of tiles on each page if you're using an iPad. If you slide it, then you will see some more people who
I got it. Thanks, Meera. Makes sense. Now I can see the others.
Yes. So I have one more request, that I'm going to start the class next time 15 minutes before. And don't think the time is 11. Think the time is 10:50. Because then we can hash out all these things. It's just a little discipline. See, one of the part of the Karma Yoga is discipline also. And Chinmayananji was very big on discipline. So I think if we practice a little bit, it will just help us in this path. So everybody come 10 minutes early and we'll do all that. Okay? All right. So let's get started with reading. Okay. Meenaji, you want to read?
This is the Brahmic state, O son of Pritha. Attaining this, none is deluded. Being established therein, even at the end of life, one attains to oneness with Brahman.
So
Explain
Pritha? Okay. Pritha is, Parth is the name of Arjun, and son of Pritha is son of Kunti.
Yeah.
And Pritha is also has another meaning, is Prithvi. So it's like matter. So when they say that dialogue between Bhagwan and Arjun means, dialogue between that consciousness and matter. So there are 2-3 different symbolism in this. And Parth was one of his favorite names for Arjun. Whenever he felt very loving towards him, he called him, because he was very fond of Pritha, his Kunti Bua. He was very fond of Kunti Bua. So anytime he wanted to encourage, he'd use that, Parth. Some people have that name. Right?
To renounce all desires is to end completely the last ventures of one's ego. Renunciation of ego is not a state of dull, meaningless emptiness. Where the delusory ego has ended, the state of full knowledge or selfhood has dawned. To realize the self in one's own bosom is to realize at once the self which is all-pervading and eternal, Brahman. When the ego has ended, the consciousness is not known by anybody other than the eternal, and as such, the knower of truth in a brilliant experience of the self becomes the self, and therefore this state is called selfhood. Brahmi sthiti.
Brahmi sthiti. Sthiti means condition. Brahmi means you have become Brahman. That's the condition. So here the way Swamiji is explaining is also very beautiful. He's saying when the last vesture of ego is gone. So when we were talking about that transcendental stage where you become one with everything, so it's like you never have an ego about yourself, within yourself. Your ego is always when I'm trying to show off to the other world. Is that true or not? I know, I completely know myself that, what weaknesses I have, and when I have an ego is when I separate myself with other people, and I think, oh, I'm better than them, or I know more, have more knowledge, or anything. It can be anything. But if I become one with everything, there is no fear of any other person. That's why you become fearless. There is no ego. So that the final stages of ego, when it's completely gone, then it's just a Brahmi sthiti. And then the other thing is to realize, he says that realize the self in one own bosom is to realize the self, all-pervading self. So ek to hota hai ki, okay, Bhagwan is within me, but then I realize, no, Bhagwan is, that me is everywhere. And that's why I gave that pot an example, the pot space and the big space. So everything is within me. So that's what he's talking about. That is called the selfhood. And that's what the final goal is. And that's where once I have that, then I don't have that question of will also. That will question stays at the lower state. Once I become that, then even that is gone. I transcend that. That's what it is.
Umaji, just one thing. I know you just mentioned ego, we know ourselves. Sometimes we make believe that, we are, once we keep on saying, oh, we are that, and you start believing in that yourself, that you are superior, or you are great, or you are that. So the ego is sort of, isn't it true that you sort of, you don't believe and yet you believe, but you won't.
If I understand your question correctly, it's like, okay, I have realized I'm Brahman, and maybe that will bring a little bit ego to myself. Is that what you're saying?
No. Even otherwise, to break the ego, just the question of ego, we can tell others, oh, I'm so great, I did great, and this and that. And by saying that, somehow you come to think of it also. You think of yourself, oh, yes, I am that. It's not like inward that you know yourself, that, okay, I didn't do that, I'm not that great, all that. But showing off constantly, that habit of showing off constantly, you sort of get to believe that you maybe are,
I think that it depends on each situation. If we are trying to hash out in this class, I think it will be okay, our progress or this thing, and it won't be considered showing off because we are discussing trying to get better. But if I start going out in the world and doing that, then I think that becomes egotistic, because we don't know their journey, we don't know what they are doing, and just to think, so
I think when Meera is saying and I correlate, I think that's part of my ego. Sometimes I say that. Sometimes I feel that, oh, I know this. So sometimes we don't know that that's ego, but it is.
Right. You come to believe of it.
Because it's a personal journey.
Later on you realize that, what is happening is my ego. I am boosting.
Yeah, I agree.
In that case, we have to think 100 times before we talk.
True. Yes. And I think that our Acharya used to remind us, like I have talked about this in the class also so much. He used to always say, remember, this is a subjective journey. Because every time, he would say something, if the husband and wife was sitting, they will look at each other and, I know you are doing this. Like immediately you look at the other person or say, oh my God, I got this now knowledge. I got to go and tell 5 people, hey, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. Do this, do that. he reminded us, don't do that. This is a personal journey. You're doing it for yourself. And if they see you change, they will approach you. Hey, what you're doing, I want to learn. That's a different thing. But you don't go and start advertising. And Krishna Bhagavan has told us this through this Bhagavad Gita. He kept completely quiet in chapter 1. You know, only when Arjun surrendered, he started talking. You know, and surrender also, full surrender. He said, you are my teacher, I am your shishya, I'm confused. He admitted, if I think I know everything, I'm not confused then. You know, so those are the things that we have to churn on. I think Bhagavad Gita basically answers all the questions. So if we go back to how conversation between, and even when you see how Arjun asked the questions, you will see that's the art of asking questions with a lot of respect. He had questions and he was hoping that Krishna Bhagavan will kind of support him in his thing, but he was still very respectful. I feel that like this. He never said, hey, Krishna Bhagavan, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you what the right. No, I'm not understanding Krishna Bhagavan. Can you please tell me, what you're saying is confusing me. You will see now, as soon as we start chapter 3, he will say, I'm feeling this way as though you are saying this, because he knew that Krishna. So what we have to have faith and say, if Krishna Bhagavan is saying this, and if all the saints and sages are interpreting this way, but if I think differently, problem is with me. I need to contemplate, I need to think, I need to ask the right questions. I will get there. That much faith we have to have, So I don't know, we had a big discussion. I hope that little bit helped.
I thought the last sentence was just so beautiful when he talks about the ego has ended and the conscious. It's just perfect.
Good.
A doubt may still arise that after this realization, we may again fall into the delusion of the ego and the ego's world of imperfections and sorrows. To deny this tragedy, we have been told how, having realized the self once, no more can the individual fall back into his ancient delusions. This experience of the self need not necessarily take place in the very youthful days of one's life. Even in old age, nay, even at the last moment of this embodiment, if a seeker can come to experience, even for a moment, this egoless state of tranquility and poise, even a passing glimpse of selfhood is sufficient to gain this Brahmic state pointed out in the Vedantic literature.
See how powerful this statement is? And yes. I don't know how many of you know the Puranic story. There's a Puranic story of this fellow who had named his son Narayan. I think his name was Atmaram or something like that. He was like, there was this one fellow, totally indulgent fellow. Okay? He was like far away from self-realized. So, but one time he had a good heart. One day he felt really good. So some sadhus were walking by. So he invited them in to feed them. So the sadhus, wanted to give him ashirvad because he did a good deed. So the sadhus thought कि भाई ये तो बड़ा कामी आदमी है, इसको कुछ साधना वगैरह बोलेंगे तो ये करेगा नहीं. And he had a child, newborn baby or something. They said, you name him Narayan. Okay, so he named him Narayan, and he was very much like a lot of attachment he had to the little boy. And then boy was growing up, and wo Narayan karta rehta tha sara time, And then while dying, he started saying Narayan, Narayan. So the way it's a Puranic story, okay? Symbolism, that's all it is. So because he was saying Narayan, Narayan, the story goes that वो यमराज वाले आए और बोले कि इसको तो नर्क में ले जाएंगे हम लोग because he has done so many bad things. So नारायण के जो पार्षद थे वो बोले नहीं, this guy deserves to go to the Narayan Dham because he's calling Narayan. So finally the Narayan walas won. So basically what it's telling you that at the time of death, if you can remember that Bhagwan completely, unconditionally, you will get it. That's what they're saying.
But don't wait till the last minute.
No, don't wait. It's that does not mean you wait for the last minute, for God's sake. We already discussed that.
But you can also do that at the time of death.
Yeah, but time of death, see, that's what everybody was saying, like what Geeta ji was saying is very
as
true.
I understand it, as I understand it, this is even last minute, even for a moment.
But that moment has to be fully focused on Bhagwan. Then your will and my children and my house and my nothing.
It could happen also
Yes.
last.
If on the last moment it does happen, you got it. So I mean, but to get to that last moment like that, we got to practice now, because it is like a shot in the dark, but you have practiced it all your life, it will definitely come. Because if you have done the sadhana,
there is this doha in the Ramayana कि जो ऋषि मुनि होते हैं वो जन्म जन्म तक राम नाम बोलते रहते हैं, लेकिन अंत में मुंह से राम नहीं निकलता. तो उसके लिए एक अंदर से भावना भी चाहिए और प्रैक्टिस भी चाहिए. जैसे महात्मा गांधी गिरते हुए भी, मरते हुए भी हे राम उनके मुंह से निकला. तो दैट इन इटसेल्फ वो अपने आप में कितनी बड़ी चीज है. ये अगर हम लोग सोचते रहें कि मरते हुए हमें बोलना है तभी मुंह से निकलेगी.
कब निकलेगा पता है मीरा जी, जब हमको ये कन्विक्शन होगा कि दैट्स द ओनली थिंग इन लाइफ. तभी वो जब भी कोई मर जाता है तो राम नाम सत्य बोलते हैं ना, बोलते हुए जाते हैं. इट्स ऑल सिंबलिज्म कि देयर इज नथिंग एल्स. जगत सपना, कॉन्शियसनेस इज द रियलिटी. सो अगर ये कन्विक्शन आ जाए ना, तभी वो मुंह से निकलेगा. I think that if you see Gandhiji's life, he was, we discussed it, that his main goal was finding the truth, or finding, this was a sidey business for him, trying to get the country. So in your karma yoga, you can be a politician, you can be whoever you want, you can be a, social worker, but his ultimate aim was that self-realization. That's why he said, Hey Ram.
In Hindu culture, that's why at the last minute when the person is dying and we know that the person is dying, we start chanting mantras, we start creating that environment so that he remembers God before he dies.
Very, very true. In fact, the one of the custom is they take them from the bed and put them on the floor, because it's saying, okay, it's time to drop everything now, because bed is a symbol of comfort and calm and all that. So there's okay now. So we know everything is geared towards self-realization in our culture. Okay, whether we know it or not, it is that. And they also tell you that okay, bring me home and all, because the kind of people, if they know about self-realization, they'll help. Like what you are saying, that it will be what Kamala ji is saying, that the family will also help him to remember God. And true. Okay.
Negation of the false and the assertion of the true is the path that has been indicated in the Upanishads. The very same path and its practical application is denoted here in the Geeta in Vyasa's original contribution, the Karma Yoga. To work without attachment and desire, egoism and vanity, ever in perfect equilibrium at both success and failure, is to deny the ego its entire field of activity and unconsciously to assert the greater truth, the self. Thus, in technique, Gita's Karma Yoga is not at all different from the Vedantic technique of meditation. But Arjuna got confused and perplexed because he understood Krishna's words too literally, and therefore, in the following chapter, he expresses in the opening lines his mental confusion. The Lord explains the Karma Yoga exhaustively in the next chapter.
So as you can see, the Lord explains the Karma Yoga exhaustively in the next chapter. We have not even scratched the surface yet of Karma Yoga, because he's going to go so much in detail. He's going to talk about what is karma, and that's where Kamalaji, a lot of your questions will get answered. Why do we do the karma, where it's coming from, all the powers that we, to do the karma, all that will be answered. And then it's like a science of karma is going to be complete. Iska naam hi hai Karma Yoga chapter 3, because in chapter 2, there were only few selected verses. If you remember, one of the verse was Karmanye Vadikaraste, most famous one, which says, your right is to work only, never on its result. And then we discussed that हम लोग कितनी भी तैयारी कर लें, something can happen. Pandemic is a perfect. कितने लोगों के plans सब हवा हो गए 2 minutes में. Because it's like you can do your job is to do the karma. Results are not in your control. Don't make the result your primary thing, or don't have a insistence on fixed result, and don't become lazy. Means because karma is like binds you and all. I will not do anything. Very easily you will drop the karma. So he's saying no, you cannot do that. So that's what we learned. And then we yogast kuru karmani, we learned yogast hoke karo. And wo yogast kya hai? Work without attachment, desire, egoism, and vanity in complete equilibrium. So those 4 things he told you already. So, he's saying that unless we do that, we are not qualified to get that higher knowledge. जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि when we go to college, I need to get entrance exam. If I don't pass the entrance exam, they won't let you in. Suppose अगर किसी ने घूस खिला के और चला गया वो कॉलेज में, he won't be able to handle it. In fact, I heard this incident that, couple of people in India, they have the quota, right? They take this quota system, and even if at a lower level, you can go to certain colleges. And then the students could not handle it, IIT and all that. And then they said, okay, what happened? And when they went into there, then because they got qualified at the lower level. So, I may think that I am qualified, but I will bomb at it until I practice all these things and make my mind ready for it. Then that final stage dawns upon us. Or if we hear some saint's words and all that, it will resonate correctly in our mind. Otherwise, we will always take it wrong. So, Karma Yoga is like the practice that we all have to do, and that will continuously purify our mind. That will turn into upasana, and then it will turn into knowledge. Knowledge will bring vairagya, and that vairagya, true vairagya, will take us to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where we will experience it. So that's the whole process. So in chapter 3, he talks about karma, everything, science of karma. In chapter 4, he talks about upasana. So karma is like when we transact with the world, how we should be behaving and what attitude we should be having. So without attachment, desire, egoism, and vanity. And upasana is when I'm alone, what kind of sadhana I can do. So then all that pranayam and all the different yagnas and all that will come in that. And then chapter 5, he will really go very detailed into, remember we talked about kartapan, agency, ego.
Yeah. Okay.
Uska sara science batayenge ki how to kind of get over all that. Then comes meditation, chapter 6. That, hey, now I'm ready for it. Then when I sit, it will fructify because all my mind is purified. And one other very good example that resonates with me, I think somebody I have to mute because this noise is coming. Okay. Resonate with me is that they say कि अगर दूध डालने के लिए ना एक पात्र को एकदम साफ होना चाहिए. अगर गंदे पात्र में दूध डालेंगे तो फट जाएगा. So that's how the mind is, that the knowledge is so pure that first we need to clean our mind like a pot for the milk. And then when Bhagwan will pour the knowledge. I thought that was a beautiful example. So our job is to keep cleaning the pot, And then I remember I read the autobiography of Yogananda a long time ago. But I remember some incident that he was very anxious to get this self-knowledge. And he insisted to his guru that, mere ko experience chahiye. And guru was trying to hold it off because he felt he was not ready. And then, but he insisted, so guru gave him a glimpse of it. Okay? Yogananda at that point could not handle it. So the way he explained it, it's like taking a bulb which can only handle so much electricity and blasting it with like a big voltage.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fantastic example. Hey, the bulb is not ready. It will burn up. And you will see that when in chapter 11, when Arjun requests Krishna Bhagwan that please show me the Vishwaroop Darshan, and I want to see, you keep saying that the whole world is in you. I want to see what that feels like. If you think I'm worthy of it, please show me, that how the whole world resides in you. So then he said, okay, you cannot see it with this. I have to give you Divya Drishti first. So he gave him the comprehension power. He gave him the Divya Drishti. And then Arjun sees everything and he gets totally flabbergasted. And then he got scared because he saw death and life, everything, good, bad, everything in him. He got so scared. Then he said, please, 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 I'm done with it. Can you please come back to your original form? I can't handle it anymore. So that happened to Arjun also. But the real bhakti dawned on his heart after Krishna Bhagwan showed him the Vishwaroop. Because that's the symbolism here. You in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi mein jab hum log ko wo experience hota hai, true bhakti and surrender starts from there. Uske pehle wo conditional surrender hi hai. I still feel I can do something. That's the time you realize that everything is that. From the jiva level, I'm nothing, but at that level, I'm everything, kind of thing. So I gave you some little glimpse of other parts of Geeta.
What is Nirvikalpa? Nirvikalpa, or what is that term?
Nirvikalpa Samadhi is that final state where the ego is completely gone. When we talked about, why can't we see your face? Oh, now we can. Okay. Remember the Lakshan of Sthita Prajna? Mm-hmm. In that, he talked about the Samadhi. What is the final stage of Samadhi where you complete oneness?
I really want the definition of Nirvikalpa.
Vikalp means जो मन में संकल्प विकल्प आते हैं ना, like मन में जो विचार आते हैं ना, वो शांत हो जाए. निर्विकल्प. हाँ, sorry. क्या?
Vikalp is alternative. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is where you don't have any other alternative. You are surrendered to God now.
No doubt.
Mind keep working on it. Should I do Karam Yoga or Gyan Yoga or this yoga? So mind has different alternatives. But when we go in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, then there is no alternative. We just have one goal, that we are surrendering to God.
Does that clear you? Mm-hmm. Because when all the doubts are gone, basically.
Yeah, all doubts are gone. You are focused on it. You are clear. The only goal is to achieve God now.
Or God is it. That's it. I'm nobody. Yeah. Or you can say it so many different ways. So sankalpa vikalp, that's what they talk in Sanskrit. Sankalpa vikalp means this way or that way, like Kamlaji is explaining. Nirvikalp means you've risen above it, transcendent it. In English, you can say it, transcendental state. So that's why this samadhi or nirvikalpa samadhi that we talk about is a transcendental state where you rise above everything. Mind, body, intellect, senses. Because if you stay in that realm, then you are always having that sankalp vikalp. But when you rise above it, then you are nirvikalp. Any other question?
Yeah. The next sentence, which is Gita's Karma Yoga is not at all different from the Vedantic technique of meditation. Could you just give an example? I mean, I still cannot relate. To me, Karma Yoga is, the way of action.
Okay, I think that...
Vedantic technique. Tell me about that, please.
Remember we discussed that the saints and sages who become self-realized, they come out in the world and do karmas.
Yes.
Right? But
yes.
Their attitude completely changes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
Just think of it that way. That hey, you can be a karma yogi also and still have that complete knowledge and all that. But then you have to have all these 4 things without attachment, desire, egoism, and vanity. if somebody is, so that he's still doing karma yoga, but
Yes.
he's also in we also discussed that uski brahmi sthiti kabhi change nahi hoti.
So
He's-
that's in meditation all the time.
He's in meditation all the time because he knows.
Okay.
उसका नॉलेज इतना क्लियर है कि वो कभी सपने में भी नहीं भूलता और कभी जागृत में भी नहीं भूलता, कभी डीप स्लीप में भी नहीं भूलता कि वो कॉन्शियसनेस ही है.
Okay.
That's what I
Thank you. Yes. I think that's it. I completed that.
Yeah. So, any other question on this? Chapter 2? This is this last part is in every end of every chapter, and I'll just read it, and you guys, if you have a Bhagavad Gita, you can read it at home. Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyo Dhyayah. So when in those days, when they didn't write down anything and they always memorized, this is how they knew that they are going to the third chapter now. So and that tells you Om. Everybody knows what Om is. We are doing Mandukya. So Om represents that consciousness and its full level, the worldly level as well as the transcendental. That is Om. Tat is that